Most people think intelligence is a blessing, a golden key to every locked door. They imagine it makes life easier, clearer, more successful. But the truth is, intelligence doesn't just open doors. It shows you the rooms you never wanted to see. Because the smarter you are, the more you start to notice. And once you notice, there is no unseeing. That's when intelligence stops being a gift and starts becoming a curse. It doesn't happen all at once. There's no dramatic flash of lightning, no sudden voice from the sky. It starts quietly, almost too quietly to notice. You're sitting in a conversation, smiling politely, when someone says something that doesn't quite make sense. Everyone else nods, laughs, and moves on. But something in your mind pauses. You catch the inconsistency, the way their words don't match reality. And while everyone else moves forward, you stay with that thought, turning it over in your head like a stone in your palm. At first, you think it's nothing. Maybe you're overthinking. But then it happens again, and again, and again. You start to notice the cracks, the way people repeat things they've heard without ever questioning them, the way crowds cheer for ideas they don't fully understand, the way entire conversations are built on the assumption that this is just how it is, and no one asks why. You listen to the news and realize the story is being told, but not necessarily the truth. You watch an argument and see that neither side is interested in finding answers, only in winning. You see smiles that hide exhaustion. You hear laughter that sounds a little too forced. And slowly, the realization begins to sink in. The world isn't what you thought it was. It's not just about gaining more knowledge. It's about seeing the patterns under the surface, the repetition, the illusions, the way everything, from politics to entertainment to daily life, runs on scripts written long before you were born. And when your mind starts seeing those patterns, you can't unsee them. It's like learning a new language. At first, you only catch a few words, but soon you understand the entire conversation. And once you understand, you can't go back to pretending you don't. That's the first cost of intelligence, the loss of comfort. Because the world feels safer when you don't notice the cracks. But once you see them, you realize the walls were never solid to begin with. The strange thing about seeing the truth is that no one tells you what to do with it. You'd think awareness would feel like freedom, that it would be this glorious moment of liberation, like breaking out of a cage and running into open air. But it's not like that. Not at first. At first, it feels heavy, like you've been carrying a backpack your whole life, but you only just realized it's full of bricks. And now, you can't take it off. You start to see the world not as it's presented, but as it really is. And you see how much of it runs on lies, not just the ones told by others, but the ones we tell ourselves. You notice the little hypocrisies in people's words, the way someone talks about honesty but will hide the truth the moment it becomes inconvenient, the way people preach kindness while ridiculing anyone who doesn't fit their idea of normal. And the worst part, you realize you've done it too, not because you're evil, but because it was easier, because blending in is safer than standing alone. That's the real cost of intelligence. You become painfully aware of your own contradictions. You start holding yourself to a standard you never even thought about before. Every conversation feels different now. Small talk feels like static. Entertainment feels like distraction. You sit in a room full of people and think they don't even know they're asleep. And it's not arrogance. It's not thinking you're better than them. It's the frustration of wanting to shake them awake, but knowing they'll resent you for it. Because here's the cruel truth. Most people don't want to see. Not really. The illusion is warm. It's familiar. It's safe. And when you threaten it, you're not just questioning their beliefs. You're questioning the very foundation their life rests on. That's why intelligent people so often end up isolated. Not because they chose solitude, but because they refuse to go back to sleep. There comes a point where the distance between you and the rest of the world becomes impossible to ignore. You used to laugh with them, agree with them, nod along to conversations you didn't believe in, just to feel like you belonged. But now, every word tastes different. It's like being in a play where you've suddenly realized the script is fake, the lines are hollow, the smiles are rehearsed, and the audience isn't even paying attention. That's the fracture, the moment you split from the world you once accepted, not physically, not violently, but spiritually. It's when you stop playing your role, when you stop nodding to lies just because they're comfortable, when you start asking the question that terrifies them most: why? Why do we worship money but despise greed? Why do we praise honesty but punish truth-tellers? Why do we claim to value individuality while shaming anyone who refuses to be a copy? The more you ask, the more the mask slips, and you see it everywhere. in politics, in media, in relationships, even in your own reflection. That's when the anger comes, not the kind that explodes, the kind that simmers quietly, the kind that comes from realizing that so much of life is designed to keep you distracted, busy, obedient. You try to share what you've learned, thinking maybe they'll understand. Maybe someone will say, "I've felt this too." But more often than not, you're met with silence, or worse, a smile that says, "Stop overthinking." That's the tragedy of intelligence. The deeper you see, the harder it is to be seen. And slowly, the fracture widens. You spend more time in your own mind, more nights staring at the ceiling, thinking about things no one around you talks about. Your laughter becomes rarer, not because you've lost joy, but because so much of the world feels like a bad joke. And yet, somewhere deep inside, there's a stubborn part of you that refuses to close your eyes again. Because once you've seen the cracks, you know the whole structure is fragile. And maybe, just maybe, you were meant to break it. Awakening is not a gift, it is a weight. They will not celebrate you for seeing more. They will resent you for no longer playing along. You'll start losing people, not because you pushed them away, but because the space between your reality and theirs will grow too wide to cross. Friends will drift. Family will sigh when you speak. People will call you distant, arrogant, cynical. They'll tell others you've changed, and they'll mean it as an insult. But here's the truth. You have changed, and you were supposed to. Because you can't unknow what you now see. You can't put the mask back on without choking. You can't sit at the table pretending the food isn't poisoned. This is the cost of knowing. You inherit a kind of loneliness that no crowd can cure. Your conversations get shorter. Your tolerance for noise shrinks. You stop seeking comfort in places that once felt safe, because now you see what's behind them. Distraction, denial, sedation. And yet, for all its pain, there's a strange purity in this exile. You learn to stand without the scaffolding of approval. You discover the kind of strength that comes from not needing to be understood. You stop fearing solitude, because it's in solitude that the fog finally lifts. But make no mistake, this is the part that breaks most people: the isolation, the silence, the constant pull to go back to sleep just so you can belong again. Most do. They trade their clarity for comfort, their truth for applause, and the world welcomes them back with open arms. But you are different. You are willing to carry the weight, to walk through the dark without begging for the light to be turned back on. Because deep down you know, every step you take away from their world is a step toward your own. There comes a point when running no longer works. You've tried distraction, you've tried denial, you've tried pretending the voice inside you wasn't there, but eventually you stop, you sit with the discomfort, you face the silence head on, you let the weight press down until it cracks you open. And yes, it breaks you, but not the way they broke you. They broke you to make you smaller. This breaks you to make you real. It's the kind of breaking that strips away the noise, the roles, the lies, until all that's left is something solid, something golden, something that was always there, but buried too deep for you to see. You stop asking, "What do they want from me?" and start asking, "What do I want from this life?" You stop chasing their approval and start chasing alignment. You stop bending yourself to fit their story and start writing your own. Piece by piece, you reclaim your voice, your power, yourself. You stop living as a reaction and start living as a decision. And yes, you still feel fear. You still hear their voices, but now you recognize them for what they are, echoes of a life that no longer belongs to you. Because you remember now, you were never meant to be a copy, never meant to be silent, never meant to live someone else's dream. You were meant to wake up, to rebel, to become. And that voice inside you, the one they tried to bury, is still here, still waiting, still whispering, "This is who you are."